Dr. Davin Lim, board certified laser dermatologist. Today's segment is going to be on acne scarring, and it's going to be a hypothetical question. So this is not the real world, but if you could have one device, we're not talking about an instrument, but a device, an energy device, in one device only for the treatment of acne scars, what would I pick? So if I could only have one, so remember guys, only one, what would I pick? Here is the answer. Well, it certainly wouldn't be this, it wouldn't be a Fraxel 1550 or a dual. Does it work for acne scarring? The answer is yes, it does. But there are a lot of other better treatments. So what other things could we choose for acne scarring? Would I choose something like this? So would I invest in something like an LED diode, for example, like a helite? Yeah, certainly this can help with early acne scarring, but for established acne scars, absolutely not. So what else would I choose? Let's have a look. So behind me we have $250,000, I kid you not, $250,000 worth of equipment. These include the PicoSure laser and the RevLight laser. The PicoSure laser in many papers have shown to work for acne scars, established acne scars, and in one paper has shown to actually work just as well as a fractionated CO2. In my opinion, that's absolutely incorrect. So would I use this for established acne scars in the lighter skin types? No, I won't. But would I use this as adjunctive treatment for acne scars in darker skin types? Possibly. What else do I choose? So let's have a look. Would I use the E-Prime or Profound? No, I wouldn't. That's old generation radio frequency. Can it tighten certain areas up? Yes, it can, but it's not great for acne scars. What about this? What about the Fraxel Repair, the big guns, the really big guns of acne scar treatments? Would I use this? The answer is no. Why? Because there are other better treatments that are a lot more powerful and controllable compared to the Fraxel Repair. Does it work for acne scars? Yes, it can. But is it the best treatment out there? No, it isn't. Let's go to the next one. Will I use this? Will I use the CO2 freehand, called a CO2 core? Yes, it can work for acne scarring. But once again, it's limited by the power output with this and the density. So it's 80 millijoules. I think I do need something a little bit higher. If I were to go for a CO2 laser, which lasers would I choose? Basically the Deca or the CO2 lasers by Luminous. Let's move on, shall we? Would I use an erbium laser like this, such as a profractional laser, both in fully ablative erbium modes or profractional as in fractional erbium? Yes, I could use this, but I used to use that, but that was about 10 years ago. What about the newest laser from Italy? Basically a hybrid laser combining two Fraxels using a erbium glass laser in the 1540 wavelength, fired straight after that by a really, really powerful CO2 laser. I'm talking about super powerful. We're talking about realistically 10 times the strength of Fraxel or the core. Would this be my treatment of choice? No, it wouldn't. I'll tell you why. Because all of these technologies, lasers, they have to treat the upper parts of your skin, right, before treating the lower parts of your skin where your scars lie. So the treatment of choice for me and most specialists who do acne scar treatments is actually not a laser. It's actually microneedling. Now, my favorite treatment of choice is this. It's Infini by Lutronic. And I'll give you many reasons why. First of all, this treatment itself is colorblind, so which means we can treat skin color of any type without collateral damage to the skin. And the great thing with this, with the insulated needles, is that it's adjustable. So I'll give you an explanation of why I actually like using this for treating acne scars. Once again, it's not perfect, and once again, in the real world, and when I'm talking about the real world of acne scar management, I use everything from here to everything from back there, because remember, if we're talking about box scarring and really deep fibrotic scars, even Infinity won't actually break fibrotic scars, and I do need super powerful CO2 lasers for that. And for fully ablative laser resurfacing for box scarring, I do need all of these. And I can have things like vascular lasers to treat erythema or PIE or in a lot of the other skin conditions. So there is no one treatment that's best, but once again, this is a hypothetical question which I'm basically giving to you guys out there and creating a bit of controversy as to what would I invest in if I had to buy one piece of equipment. So this is why, guys, I choose the Infinity. Microneedling is not a new concept, but the concept to understand is this. We are treating scars, and scars lie below the surface of the skin. The whole idea is to preserve the upper layers of the skin and to target scars, and hence this is why I choose microneedling. Microneedling, as you can see, introduces needles to the bottom layer of the skin called the dermis, where scars lie, sparing the upper layers. So this results in very, very little downtime for patients. So let us look at the history of microneedling. Generation 1 is what I call just basic dermal rolling or dermal rollers. This is a form of microneedling, but we don't use energy. The next generation after that uses vertical delivery systems like the DermaPen system. Once again, non-energy device, but delivers needling vertically instead of through a roller. Third generation devices such as the ND-Med Intensive uses energy-based needling, but without insulation. And fourth generation devices like this Infinity uses insulation. And why is insulation important? I'll show you why. The reason why I like this device, first of all, is that it can be infinitely, as the pun, excuse the pun, it's infinitely adjustable, both when it comes to the settings, the depth, energy device, the pulse duration. But you can see what I mean by insulation. If you have a look on the top, the areas can be adjusted so that insulation itself protects certain layers of skin, but then affects the deeper layers. So you can basically dial it into the depth of which you require. For example, if I want a 3.5 millimeter depth, it delivers energy at 3.5 mils. Now, there is a downside, however. The machine itself is not perfect. You can see carbonization of this, which means insulation, as soon as it becomes black, does not work. So this is one of the downfalls of the machine itself. Overall, however, I find it a very useful tool in treating the vast majority of scars. Realistically, I've replaced a lot of my CO2 fractional laser resurfacing devices with this particular instrument, and the reason being is because of the insulation and the low downtime. And you can see later on I combined that with PRP or platelet-rich plasma to give even better results. So this is a color-blind treatment. So in other words, we're not treating the skin itself, we're going under the skin and we're delivering energy levels that we can control and also pulse duration, in other words, how long the energy is delivered for, with absolute accuracy within limits. So you can see the healing up straight afterwards, straight after maximum or very near maximum levels of intensity, what the skin looks like. Your upper part of your skin or your epidermis is intact, whilst the energy is delivered below the skin, and that's where your scars lie. So this is the concept of energy-based microneedling, which is insulated. Intensive by ND-Med is still a very good device. I have nothing against that, and same with Secret, which is another RF device. But I think the key to getting a really good result is with insulation. But once again, like I said, it's not a perfect device because the insulation can fail, and after 300-400 shots, we do get the failure of the insulation due to carbonization, and hence it becomes a non-insulated devices. So does it mean that all of my laser devices, everything I have, is out of date? Absolutely not. How laser works is that it treats the upper part of the skin first before the energy levels are delivered to the bottom parts of the skin. That also applies to even lasers like Fraxel, who's supposed to be non-ablative, in other words, sparing the upper limit. But still, we do have ablation with that. CO2 laser, fractional laser resurfacing, and erbium laser, like what I'm doing, I still find these very useful tools. And they can still be excellent in the modalities of which they're used for. We can control the passes in regards to laser, the densities, the energy levels. And if scars lie in the same plane, do I still use fully ablative, old-fashioned laser resurfacing? Absolutely. The only downside about fully ablative laser resurfacing is the downtime. So it takes patients many days to recover, lots of oozing, and color changes. So you can see what happens with a laser treatment. This is immediately after a laser. You can see that the skin itself has been compromised. So this is with a Fraxel treatment. So you can see the grids, and it does take anywhere up to a week. This is with a profractional or erbium laser, and this is with fully ablative laser resurfacing. So it does take time. Now, with the Infini system, look at this. So I'm using a very high setting, but I'm also using it very superficially at 1.5 mil. So look at this. This is 1.5 millimeter setting. The skin is still intact, which means this person will heal up very quickly. In fact, he will heal up within 3 days. Swelling for the first 1 or 2 days, a little bit of redness for 3 days, and that's it. So that's why this combination of PRP and Infini is what I like. So what are the before and afters? Let's have a look at the realistic before and afters. Remember, this is just Infini RF combined with PRP only. No other treatments is used. This is before, and I'm waiting for inflammation to settle down. This is 10 days after, so there's no swelling. That's after one treatment. This is before, and once again, I do wait 10 days before actually taking the photographs to make sure that there's no swelling. This is 10 days after. This is with Infini PRP. Look at this before. It's a very hard patient to treat because of the ethnic skin type, and after. And once again, if you study closely, look at the improvement in pore sizing, but look at the improvement in acne scars, both the atrophic scars together with tethered scars. Realistically, he can do with filler in the crosses marked X for better improvement. 2 treatments, once again, of Infini RF only, and you can see a marked improvement there. And once again, you can augment that with fillers for even better treatments. If we're looking at Caucasian patients, once again, 2 treatments. You can see this patient has done a review on Realself in regards to the treatments, and 2 treatments only before and after. Looking at her temples, once again, 2 treatments only, Infini RF together with PRP. And once again, this is a good treatment for acne scars as well because of the low downtime. Can it work for other conditions like pore sizing? Absolutely, but they do need 2 to 3 treatments as well. So I discovered very early on that combining Infini together with platelet-rich plasma or platelets taken from your blood can actually give a better improvement but shorten the actual heal time to ensure that patients heal up within 2 or 3 days. So this is what I call PRP over technique. So remember, we have 5,000-6,000 micro holes in this small area. So PRP goes over the area. And sometimes I use PRP under the area as well, so I call it over and under technique. And in this situation, I'm using PRP straight after Infini, but I'm also subcising and placing PRP in the dermis itself. And then what I do is I saturate PRP or platelet-rich plasma with all the growth factors and cytokines into a mask, and I actually apply that on the areas which I treat. And the mask stays on. So basically that whole area is infused with platelet-rich plasma for at least half an hour to 1 hour. So this is what I call the famous PRP bank robber mask technique. So that goes on, and then you can see me actually putting more PRP on the area, and that just stays on for an hour. So it gets infused. And we cut tiny little holes in the area so that it's more comfortable for the patient. And once the procedure is over, absolutely painless. So this is the famous PRP bank rubber mask. And you can see, treated many patients, but over the next couple of months, you can see a lot before and afters. In fact, if you go to realself.com, you'll see at least 80 of my before and afters for acne scar treatments. So back to the real world. This is real world treatment. What do I do? Some patients can't actually have Infinity, so I have to actually go back and do subcision and filling because they may have conditions such as lupus or psoriasis or vitiligo, and I can only use certain treatments for these patients. Some other patients, however, will have scars which are really fibrotic. In other words, Infinity itself cannot even break through the scars, and I will have to use old-fashioned lasers, including really powerful CO2 lasers, augment that with subcision together with dermal fillers to actually get a good result, because Infinity itself, even though it's good, still the spring rates are, in my opinion, weak. And with early scarring, what do? I use E-matrix because we don't need to actually have an aggressive treatment. Scars remodel really well if they're treated early. So early scars are scars that are less than 3 to 4 months old, in my opinion. So patients with scars like these that lie in the same plane who are Caucasian, what do? I use the old-fashioned ablative lasers. In other words, the old-fashioned erbium or CO2 lasers. One treatment and one treatment only with a 9-day downtime, but look at the results before and then have a look at the results after. And then I may combine that with the V-beam laser treatment, and we get realistically a 90-95%, almost a perfect improvement with an old-fashioned system. So I still do use old-fashioned total laser resurfacing. You can see me here because the scars lie in the same plane and they don't lie too deeply. I still use old-fashioned erbium laser. So does Infinity change the way I practice? No, but if I had to buy one device and one device only, would I replace my erbium with it? Yes, I would. Would I replace my CO2 with it? Yes, I would. But in the real world, when patients come to see me, I use all the techniques, including fully ablative laser resurfacing, as you can see, because the results are there. Why would I want to give this patient 3 or 4 Infinity treatments when I can treat it with one treatment of old-fashioned erbium to get this result? Fractional laser resurfacing. So fractional laser resurfacing, most of the time I use CO2 lasers. So are they out of date? No, they're not. Do I still use my Fraxel? Yes, I do. Are there other better treatments? Yes, there are. Do I still use my core laser instead of my U laser? Yes, I do. The reason being is that I can control it a lot easier. In other words, I know the parameters backwards because I've been using this for years. And it does work. So I'm not saying it doesn't work. It just means that the patient will have downtime. So the more density I perform, in other words, the greater the area treated, the longer the downtime. And I may consider actually using some TCA cross in this same procedure. So you can see combining multiple procedures will give you real results. So let's have a look at a couple of before and afters. So this is fractional before, sorry about the blurred picture, and then fractional after, and that's realistically after 4 treatments. Before with multiple different scar types, and this patient requested fractional laser resurfacing, and after, not perfect, he still can do with a little bit of filler here and there, but improved. And once again, before with lots of tethered scarring and anchored scars, and after. And once again, could do with a little bit of subcision and filling to this area as well. So the most important aspect in real life, guys, is to examine scars. We've been through this before in many of my videos. The key to success is to identify your scar type. And the best way to identify your scar type is not just with normal lighting, it's with angle lighting. So you've got to have a look at the scars under angle lighting, because that's where you pick the scars like the massively atrophic scars, and you can actually give the patient an amazing result with 1 or 2 treatments. And once again, I've got to see what the patient sees, and what most acne scar patients see is the acne scars under certain lighting. So I've got to actually understand what they see, and indirect angle lighting reveals all. So I don't like using direct lighting. Once again, if a patient like this presents to me, you go, where are the scars? And it's very easy. As soon as you turn off the lights, angle the lights, you go, there they are. And then you can actually target these scars based upon the lighting. And finally, tethered and anchored scarring. That's why you can never assess scar types properly without actual examination, because these tethered scars do need a procedure known as subcision to break down the bonds. So guys, look, it's really important that this is the basic thing. Match a method to the acne scar type. And that method may include E-matrix, may include things like radio frequency for early scars. It may include laser treatments. It may include TCA or trichloroacetic acid cross for deep acne scars. As I said, fractional laser resurfacing, does it work? Yes, it does. You also have to be well versed in filling and subcision. And once again, here I am with the Infinity. I'm still using the Infinity now. It's not out of date. Do I still use the Fraxel? Yes, I do. But the question is, are there other better treatments for particular scar types? And the answer is absolutely. So you've got to know how to subsize. You've got to know how to fill. You've got to know actually how to use no-core subcision for extremely tethered scars. And last of all, you still need to actually have basic surgical skills to cut out scars. So guys, there you have it. It's a very controversial video. As you can see, there are multiple ways to treat acne scars. And the most important thing is to find your acne scar type and match it with the skill sets of treating that scar type with a method. And in many cases, patients will present with multiple scar types, and the only way to assess it is real life assessment. In other words, evaluate the patient, see, look in 3 dimensions under angle lighting. Most importantly, touch to see whether there's an amount of fibrosis, how thick the dermis is, and to see whether these treatments work. So in the real world situation, the answer is there's not one device. We need to have multiple devices, including lasers of all varieties, from everything from Q-switch lasers to vascular lasers to hybrid lasers, ablative lasers, and microneedling devices, PRP, the whole lot. And even then, we can't treat your scars completely. We can give you the best shot at getting the biggest improvement. But once again, that's reality for you. The great news is that every year, new things are coming on board, new, I guess, technologies and equipment are at the foresight of dermatology. So stay tuned guys, if you like this, please subscribe. I'll keep you informed of what's new and the progress of what I may discover over the next couple of months and what works and what doesn't work. So one new video every Saturday morning, Brisbane time. Subscribe if you like this channel and I'll keep you up to date. Thanks for watching guys, bye.